Welcome everyone back to the podcast. We have a special guest, which is Breanna. She has a great background in photography and as well as doing her own little marketing for her photography business. Welcome to the show, Breanna. Thank you for joining the podcast. And how's your day going so far?
Hi, it's great to be on your podcast. It's been really good so far. Today is like an off day for me. So I got all my editing done yesterday. So like today's really good. I got to catch up on laundry.
No, I gotcha. We got to take care of that laundry. It just starts piling up from there.
Yeah. Today is like a Saturday for me.
Okay. You're getting a head start on all the chores there. And I was going to say, I know that you're doing the photography. What kind of got you started on that path?
Great question. I picked up my first borrowed camera when I was I think a sophomore in high school. It was my dad's Canon Rebel XS, which is super, super old and a really cute little starter camera. And I took a media concepts class in high school and we learned how to use a DSLR and how to use Photoshop. And then we also learned how to use like really fancy equipment that I will probably never put my hands on again. But it was a really cool experience. And so from there, I was just shooting like my friends for fun. I would just bring my camera like literally anywhere. I didn't shoot people like portraits until probably college because I was so uncomfortable with like, I don't know how to pose people, but that's kind of how it started. Like I just graduated college this year. So it's been,
Congrats.
Thank you. Like several years or so, I don't know, but that's how it started. And I think my love for portrait photography came from being able to make people feel confident in themselves and like showing them photos of themselves and they can see themselves in a new light, like in a new way that they probably wouldn't have been able to get through like an iPhone pic or just what they see. So I think it's cool to bring like a new perspective of other people and for them to see that because then they're like, oh wait, like I do look really good. Like I'm pretty photogenic. So I think my love for portrait photography comes from that feeling of like, I kind of have the capability to bring confidence to people and hype them up and to make them feel really beautiful.
And I really like how you were saying, even from the beginning, how that all started out for you with just kind of doing it for friends. It was like a hobby, but from there, it just started building on itself, which I think is super awesome. And it seemed like it was very rewarding. What do you feel like photography? I know you did mention a little bit about the portrait style, but what do you feel like photography has taught you more for yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've learned a lot over these past several years from photography alone. I think the biggest thing that I've learned like this year actually is that I'm the biggest thing holding myself back. Before this year, I like would not really call myself a professional photographer to kind of like save face, like it's just a hobby. I'm not really that professional, just to kind of like protect myself. Like, what if I fail? What if these people don't like my work? It's only because it's a hobby. So it kind of like gives me that barrier, like that buffer zone, I guess, barrier of like, I don't know, this isn't like a job for me. But I think this past year alone, I've pushed myself a lot in my business. And I think I've learned like I am not really confident in myself. And I thought I was. And I thought, like, I mean, a lot of people in my life, they think that like people's opinions don't really affect me, but really like it does. And I think this past year has revealed a lot of like just like my confidence as an artist. And I think being able to push myself out of my comfort zone has taught me a lot to put that confidence in myself and just kind of like go for it. And so far, so good. I would say. And I think I finally found my style. I found like my groove and like um the content that I produce and the stuff that I make for clients. Like
Mm.
I've never really had an unhappy client because I know what I'm doing now and I have found my voice in photography as an art form and also like as like a business
Mm.
aspect of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I definitely like the part you were saying that how there's a bit of fear because you're like, oh, well, there's a safeguard if I say that it's just a hobby. But if I take it a
Mhm.
step further, there's a point where I'm just like, oh, shoot, now I have to kind of admit the quality of work I'm putting out there. There might be feedback, there might not be. But with that being said, for like, say, introverts, people that are really shy or trying to put themselves out there, what tips would you offer for them to get started in photography or even like the business side of it? Because I'm sure you handle the marketing of your photography as well.
Yeah, I think um wow, I am a huge introvert. I'm a huge introvert and I hate some aspects of being a photographer, like yelling at a wedding, everyone come over here, we're taking a photo. Stuff like that. I think there are moments where you're called to just kind of like put your needs aside and step out of that comfort zone to meet the client's needs. I think for introverts, it's funny because I was talking to my second shooter, I think last week, about just like a lot of different tips because she's very new in photography. And I think one thing that I was so adamant about was one, practice, of course, obviously, and also just putting work out there and finding your
Mm.
style. And I think for a long time, I didn't post anything. I wasn't, I didn't bring my camera everywhere as much as I should have. I didn't offer to take photos, like I didn't do as much as I think I could have just because I was afraid of like people judging my work,
Mm.
being critical. And also, like, I'm a very, very hard critic of myself. So I think for introverts, it's important to find our voice in anything that we do, but especially like the work that we create. Um, whether it's through like, shooting style, editing style, how you would describe your work, or even just trying to network with clients and putting a really good image out there for clients that they know what they're getting. Like just being authentic. A lot of times, um, like feedback that I hear from clients is that like I'm genuine because like I want to create an experience for my clients and not just, okay, like stand here and look nice. Like it's really like about building connections with people. Um, and whatever that may look like for like an individual, like it's all about finding your voice and not being
Mm.
afraid to speak
Yeah.
up and put your content out there consistently. Um, yeah, that's what I would say for content creators who are introverts.
That's really cool. I really love the advice. I love the part you're saying that you want to treat it like an experience, what it should be like, not like a business, because then it loses the human touch of it. And like you
Mhm.
said, like I think the thing that stood out to me is a relationship. At the end of the day, you're hoping in the future, as you grow with this person and create memories through your amazing photography, you want them to, return and be like, well, this person really did a great job. And I think you're right about the experience behind that. And I did also hear that you had someone in a way working under you. Would you say that's kind of like a mentorship kind of thing you're doing right now with the new
Um,
person to photography?
I think like it could be like honestly, we had one conversation because I've never met her, but
Mm.
one of my clients suggested her as a second shooter because they're friends. And
Mm.
I said, why not? Because I need a second shooter. It's for a wedding. So like it's a very big deal.
Yeah.
And she was just kind of asking me like advice of like um just general things like technical and also
Mm.
like how to work with people. And I've never ever been in that position as a photographer, and it was super cool to kind of like take a second and be like, oh wait, I do know stuff about photography because I've never been like that for
Yeah.
people. I feel like I'm always learning from people who are just like really, really good at their job. So to kind of like have like a little bit of that, I guess, for someone else,
Mm.
it felt cool because I was like, oh hey, like I don't think I would have expected this like a year ago, you know?
Mm. Yeah, and that's very cool that you're able to do that and get that opportunity just from again like the relationships. And I was curious because I know there's a lot of effort that you put in behind the experience. What mindset do you need to have to just get kind of like the job done?
Hmm. Um, let's see. I think like being positive and confident in like my ability as a photographer is really important. Like this past weekend, I had 6 shoots in one day, and um, it was a lot. Like it was really draining, and I had never done that before. And I think it was really important for me to kind of keep up my energy and my positivity for the clients because, if they had showed up and I was like, oh, like I'm tired, like, hey, just stand like this. And, like it wouldn't be fun and it wouldn't produce the same quality of images that I had gotten.
Yeah.
So I think being positive, but also just like keep on working. Like I have a very good work ethic. I think like I'm very like determined as a person. So I think that's really important too.
Yeah, and was really interesting too, just on the overall kind of concept. It's interesting because you're mentioning how there's moments where you have to kind of like take a break. And I know as introverts, we need moments to recharge. What is your way of
Mhm.
recharging during these crazy shoots? Like you said, you had 6 of them in a day. How do you go about
Yeah.
break?
I did have breaks in between, like in between them. Sometimes I didn't, but honestly, these shoots are like 20 minutes tops. And I had at least 10 minutes in between. For me to recharge, I like to be quiet and I like to be in quiet. And I don't know, I think that's just so important for, I think, literally anyone, not just introverts, but, or even like after a long day of shooting, like a wedding, I have to take a day to kind of recover physically, but also like mentally and emotionally because not I mean it probably was a really fun day but also like it's exhausting and draining. And so if I just take time to like be quiet with myself, to find some kind of solitude, I think that helps me re-energize for sure.
Nice. And I wanted to ask you, since you've been doing this for a while, even like went from a hobby to something more serious, like on this of a business. What kind of advice would you offer to people to continue to like be motivated for whatever passion they're chasing, like yourself is photography?
What advice I have for people who want to pursue their passions?
Yeah, to pursue their passion.
Okay. I just I don't know. I just feel like a good general piece of advice would be just to like um take risks and really like lean into that possibility of failure and shortcomings and disappointment. Um that's easier said than done. I still have a hard time with that, obviously, because that's never fun. But I think one thing I've definitely learned this past year is to take risks. I quit both my day jobs beginning of October, so just a little over a month, kind of like, you and your podcast. And that was a really, really big step for me because I crave stability. I'm a type 6 Enneagram, which is, whatever. Like we crave stability and security. And And I've never taken risks ever in my life. I like to play it safe. I like that stable income and, just structure. So for me to quit, both my part-time day jobs was a really, really big deal for me. But I had just had like the strongest gut feeling. And also a lot of people telling me like, hey, like this might be healthy for you. Like, and I told myself, you know what, I'll, focus on photography for a little bit and then I'll find a job. But honestly, it's like almost December and
Mm,
my photography business has really, really picked up and I've gotten the most bookings I've ever had in my life because I've really invested my time and my energy into my small business. And I would not have gotten the same results if I had stayed at those jobs for sure. And it's helped me a lot in my creativity and my motivation to kind of just like improve my work and like working with people has gotten easier. Like it feels more natural to me and I kind of figured out like what I'm doing now. So I think taking risks is super important because you're not really going to get anywhere unless you push yourself. That could be like on any level, really.
wow, it was so cool to hear just the fact that you're able to quit two of your part times, and definitely because of the risk factor that you decided to take. COVID-19 was like a crazy year for everybody, but it seemed towards the end, as you stayed positive and stayed on your hustle, it turned out to be rewarding for you, which I think is very awesome. And like you said, you
Thank
also
you.
graduated, so that's another big thing for yourself. So
It's been a
kudos to
really weird
you.
year.
I know, right? What a mixture of things, but it's really awesome to hear that. And what do you feel is like, what's your vision for your photography business? What do you feel like? Because I know there's obviously getting more bookings, but I feel like there's like a bigger picture for yourself with this business.
You would think that, but I don't. I don't really have anything. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, like this is new for me too. I mean, it's going really great so far. A dream would be to make this, to make it like my career eventually, to make more money. But I'm thinking very short term as of now because I've learned it's easier to do that and it's easier to not get disappointed. Especially with this year, I think nothing is guaranteed in life. And so to think short term is beneficial for me personally because I've seen a lot of growth so far in the last month, and I didn't really um, set any goals. It's kind of I just don't want that pressure. So I think I'm trying to be flexible with it, but I mean, hopefully down the line I would get obviously just more bookings, and to just improve the quality of my work, my workflow, and everything.
That's cool. And when people like reach out to you, they just shoot you like on your Instagram, or do you have like a website where you have all your photography? How do they reach out to you?
A majority of clients are referred to me through other just people I know. It's majority on Instagram. A lot of people will just DM me. Um, but also, I do have a website with all my work, my portfolio contact page. It's just like a really great platform for my business to be on. But also, I get a lot of clients through Instagram, which is like, just another portfolio. Yes.
Very cool. And how do you feel like just the way things have been going really well for your photography? How does it help your faith seeing that kind of happen?
It's kind of crazy. I think it's very faith building. Like honestly, like a month ago, what is it, November 19th or something? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
November 19th. Mhm.
ask me a month ago, I was not this chill about it. I was having like meltdowns. Like I would freak out and like I literally thought, oh my God, I'm gonna make no money and no one's gonna book me and I'm gonna have a terrible website. and I'm gonna have no content to put on, and like literally like anxiety like just washed over me. But I think it's like it took a lot for me to work through that. Took a lot for me to get out of my head. Took a lot of other people's efforts to get me out of my head. And I think after like, trying my best to work that, the more bookings I got, the more calm I felt. And like, I felt like taken care of, like, all right, God is really trying to provide for me, and like has given me like so many opportunities this past month alone. Um, and I think it just shows like we worry for the stupidest reasons, and it's so silly, I think, looking back on it. Like I had very hard moments emotionally. And I was like, man, I hope I did not make a mistake. Cause like, what if I just like regret quitting my day jobs and I have to like find another terrible job that also sucked the soul out of me. But whatever. Amen. God provides in really, really weird ways, I think. And I think we limit God a lot with our own experiences as humans. So, yeah. So it's been very, very faith building for sure.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's awesome. Like you're saying, you're keeping it real. From last month, it was probably a way harder. Like you said, you're starting out, and it's just like, whoa, it's like all the emotions hitting you at once that
Mhm.
happens to a lot of people, but you're able to sustain, and God came through. And usually, what I ask as we reach towards the end of the podcast, I know COVID-19 has been a crazy year for everybody, and I wanted to ask you, what has COVID-19 taught you this year? What valuable lesson?
Ugh, I don't. That's such a heavy question. So much. I don't know. Man, I think like I have been disappointed time and time again this past year. And every time I'm like, Breanna, why did you put your hope in that? Um, and I've been like trying to study out like what hope looks like in God's eyes. And I guess like the biggest thing for 2020 for Brianna is that nothing in life is guaranteed, and that is a cliche, I know, but
Mm,
um there was just like a lot of things that I was looking forward to. Like I had a plan for this year that had just not happened at all. Um, my life looks different than I was imagining in January. And I think it's crazy because I think like we can limit ourselves when it comes to planning for our lives or putting hope in things in this world. I think it's super limiting, and it constrains us into this box that God tears apart. And I think I've learned this past year that like I can limit myself a lot, and I shouldn't do that. Like I should really just put my hope in what really matters, and not commencement for graduation or um you know job situations, like those are like really big milestones, but also like that still isn't guaranteed in life. So um I'm still trying to figure that out. And I'm still trying to get used to that. But I think disappointment is something that we should lean into and not, um, you know, be afraid to process through. So, yeah, 2020 was weird, good and bad
yeah.
ways, I guess.
No doubt. It's been some kind of roller coaster of a year. And, as we're nearing the end of the podcast, are there any shout outs that you wanted to do?
Sure. My Instagram is Breanna Polakar, Breanna. pull a car, like police car. My website is on there. My work is on there. I'm on there. So if you're listening, feel free to check me out. But I'm still accepting bookings for this year and beginning of next year, as of now. So, yeah, that's about it.
No, and thank you so much, Breanna, for just being on the podcast. I'm excited for your future photography and just really hoping for the more bookings down the road. Thank you so much for joining, and that'll be wrapping up for the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
No, of course.